In 1995, a man robbed two Pittsburgh banks in broad daylight. He wore no mask, carried no disguise, and smiled directly at the surveillance cameras as he walked out with the cash. Police easily tracked him down and arrested him later that night. When they placed him in handcuffs, the man was genuinely baffled. He looked at the officers and mumbled, "But I wore the juice." He knew that the chemical properties of lemon juice were used to create invisible ink on paper. Based on that single fact, he deduced that smearing lemon juice on his face would render him physically invisible to the bank's security cameras. Detectives investigated and concluded the man was completely sober and entirely sane. His actions were driven by an unwavering confidence in a thoroughly flawed piece of logic. The absurdity of this case led social psychologists to investigate whether this specific gap between reality and self-perception was an isolated event or a common pattern in the general population. This chart shows how individuals rate themselves against their peers. By definition, only 50% of any group can mathematically sit in the top half. Yet surveys reveal that 88% of drivers and 94% of college professors place themselves in the above-average tier. The math reveals a persistent flaw in our self-evaluation. It suggests that for many of us, lacking a skill actually increases our certainty that we excel at it. To measure this, social psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger tested undergraduate students on logical reasoning, grammar, and their sense of humor in a 1999 study. After reviewing the scores, they asked the students to estimate their own performance. The students who scored in the absolute lowest percentiles predicted they had scored well above the class average. The students who achieved the highest scores made a different error. They knew they performed well, but because the test felt effortless to them, they assumed it was easy for everyone else too. Low ability carries a double penalty. A lack of skill produces poor results, and that same lack of skill prevents a person from recognizing those results as poor. We can visualize this using an amateur photographer. From his perspective, everything to know about photography fits inside this small box. Because he has acquired tiny knowledge, it feels comprehensive, filling most of his mental map. A drastic zoom out reveals the perspective of a professional. The amateur's box is actually a tiny fraction of a vast grid representing the true boundaries of the craft. Experts rate themselves lower because they can see the scale of what they have yet to learn. Novices project extreme confidence because their vision is restricted to the interior of their own tiny box. This graph plots a person's actual knowledge on the x-axis against their self-assurance on the y-axis. Acquiring even a minimal amount of skill triggers an immediate, sharp initial surge in confidence. As a person continues to learn and realizes the complexity of the field, their confidence drops into a deep valley of self-doubt. Self-assurance gradually recovers as a person approaches true mastery. Early certainty is usually a symptom of inexperience. This explains why singers on talent shows are often devastated by rejection. Their internal map of what good singing sounds like is too small to include their own technical flaws. The Dunning-Kruger effect is essentially an illusion where poor self-awareness effectively hides low ability. During their experiments, Dunning and Kruger gave the unskilled students a short tutoring session on the concepts they had failed. After receiving that instruction, the students' ability to accurately evaluate their original test results improved. Education provides the tools needed to see the boundaries of your own ignorance. You cannot recognize what you don't know until you've been shown the larger field. Acquiring new knowledge reveals a constantly unfolding landscape. Each answer found reveals 10 new questions that previously didn't exist. This creates a specific tension in human learning. As we spend more time studying a subject, we often feel we know less about it. People who merely dabble on the surface never experience this expansion. They remain trapped in the illusion that they have mastered the entire subject because they haven't seen enough of it to realize they're just getting started. That sense of hesitation you feel when encountering a new topic suggests your mental map has expanded to include the vast areas you have yet to master.